Okay, there it is. Okay. Um, hello, I'm Teray Foster. I am the founder of ARC7 Arcology. And could you just introduce yourself so that I say the names correctly?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. My name is Arezu,
How to,
and yeah,
how do you say your last name? I was trying it.
no, that's difficult. Mohepur.
Mahapur. And you're in Germany?
Uh, in Italy. We are both
Italy,
in Italy.
Italy. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And Khadija,
Yeah,
oh,
my name is Khadija. Uh, my surname, my last name is Konate, but Khadija is enough. Nice
Konate.
to meet
And what
you.
country are you from?
Yeah, I'm also based in Italy. We are in Milan, let's say, in that area, both of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Khadija, I saw that name often in when I was in Rwanda. So I was wondering if you were like from an African country.
No, I mean, yeah, it's a popular name all over the world because it's a Muslim name.
Mhm.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, Khadija was the wa Muhammad's wife, so the last prophet, first wife. So my parents are Senegalese, but it's a name it's pretty popular, like around Muslim country or Muslim descendants.
Okay. And the two of you, I watched a few of your videos and I was so excited because I have been planning something that would require a more spiritual approach to architecture. And it seemed like you had that kind of a spiritual approach. Um, do you agree with that?
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
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 Instead of it being just like cheapest and fastest and, you know,
Mm-mm.
most efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I feel like what I have envisioned is something that is specifically designed for health and well-being.
Mhm.
And I saw a few of your videos, and you definitely seem to be in that same mindset.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I haven't really seen that online before. Do you have like a club where there's a lot of people who are thinking this way, or is it just you two?
Well,
Mm.
first, I
We
want
had
to
a
ask you a
yeah.
little bit there, where are you based right now? Because I was thinking you're still in Rwanda. So tell us maybe very shortly about yourself.
Oh, okay. So I'm Teray Foster, as I said. Teray is the first half of Teresa. Um,
Okay.
and I was in Rwanda because I have a vision for building something that I call ARC7 Arcology. And it's basically a small city under one roof. So maybe more like a mall. I don't know how to explain it. I like the word arcology because it is new and hasn't been defined really what an arcology is. And so I think we can define it as we go. But I had this vision and I put it online as a
Mhm.
training for compassion and for health and well-being. And I was expecting people in America to love it because I'm here in America. And instead, all the people who took it were in Africa. And so I had all these people, I call them leaders because they're attracted to this concept and it's not very it's new is what I'm trying to say. So in order to do it, you'd have to be a leader, right? And so my leaders in Africa are just standing by, waiting to do this, to build and to cooperate and collaborate and to have financial collaboration. So it goes far beyond just agriculture, architecture, and includes agriculture and food production of all kinds, and makes it so that they're self-sustaining, self-contained, self-replicating. Um, and I intend to build the prototype in Rwanda because that's where the most leaders are, and because it's pretty inexpensive to build there, relatively inexpensive. So, have you heard of people talking about in your field, since you're both architects, right? Yes, I want to make sure I get all these facts right.
Yeah, don't
Um,
worry.
so have you heard in your field uh anyone that's already doing that where they're building from the inside out, meaning starting with the people and then building?
Khadija, I would let you go with that
Oh, okay.
first. Yeah.
So I guess first of all, yeah, I agree. The fact that we are pretty connected with the concept. Look at me saying we connected to the concept of spirituality, and I guess it's the reason why when we do the podcast, we always try to, not to talk about anything technical, but starting from the people and starting from their health and their well-being.
Yes.
It's something we were not really taught during the university, so we are really eager to do it now in our practice, is both, when you do project or when you teach, to make sure people understand that it's not about their ego, but it's about really getting something that it can be meaningful and healthy for people, that we will use, the space or the place or whatever it is. And sometimes we feel that whenever you have an architecture project, it has to start and finish with designing a building. Well, sometimes it's not what people really need. It's really about how do you embrace the process, being able to embrace this process and then understand what's the right outcome. Because most of the time, at least in the project I do, it's not really a physical outcome, the one that people really need. So they would need, spaces to meet, spaces to linger. Yeah, and I guess this is how at least I perceive that kind of spirituality comes, because you really need to vibe with the people you are working with more than, telling them what they have to do. And talking about, yeah, and because I've always been interested on how you involve the communities inside the design process. So I've always been, researching how do you do that? What are the different ways? What are the different tools you can use? Because of course you cannot pretend a person to be able to read a plan, for example. So how do you make it approachable for them? At least in Italy, and I would say in Europe, there are many projects or examples where people will build starting from people. um, Maybe co-housing projects usually would do it when they do it well. Not all of them, of course. Or, but
Go
yeah,
village kind of thing. I've heard that word, like an
eco-villages,
Psycho-village,
eco
yeah.
village or
eco-villages.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, eco villages
Hmm.
will do also that. And usually, as you were saying, it really comes from, from the grassroots, from someone that wants just to give it a try. And
Right.
usually then it's able to have a small community and do it. There are some municipalities that are pretty good also in doing that, like co-housing now, at least in Italy. We are trying now not only to get people a house or an apartment, but also to build a community around it. So there are a few examples like that. Yeah, people would not really be involved in the actual design and building. So they will come, let's say, after, and afterwards is when they try to build a community for the new place they constructed. So yeah, this is and actually we did a podcast. I mean, it's not on our podcast. It's on, is it on Urbanistica? So we did a whole episode on spirit placemaking and spirituality. So when you were talking about a club,
Hey.
probably the placemaker, the placemaker, some of the placemaker are a bit of our club, where you can find people that will understand this concept without, you
I'm
having to
looking for
explain.
something to write that
Oh, yeah.
down.
Yeah,
I
sure. I
didn't
mean,
bring a pencil.
we can send it to you afterwards. And
Yes, yes,
it
please.
was,
Yeah.
Or put
and
it in
it
the
was,
chat.
yeah, it was the first time actually we were really thinking about talking specifically about spirituality and placemaking. And placemaking is a concept that actually was born in the United States. And it's really about how do you get people before thinking about anything that is technical, about everything that it doesn't matter.
Right, right, right. So
Yeah.
the plan that I I have online, it's a training course actually for the
Mhm.
people before they even know where they're going to build. So this is a training course to inspire people to do it, really.
Mhm.
And then after the steps to build is yours or someone else's, but so mine is just to inspire it and believe in it and teach it and teach these specific steps towards financial collaboration. The final step being building the arcology. But the steps up to building this ecology, I've been working with the team in Rwanda now for 4 years. And so it takes time to build a team, to build the cooperation, to see who's really interested and who's kind of halfway in. And in Rwanda, we're really focused on finding ways to make money because they can't even begin to imagine building anything until they either get a grant or a donor or make some money. So now as a team, we've kind of shifted our focus to making money because we've applied for the grants. USAID was closed down. Um, it seems that we are going to have to do it ourselves. So making money is a big part of the ARC7 arcology idea. Even before this, it's food production and businesses and a business incubator built in, and actually starts before the project is designed or built. So the business incubator is a very big part of it. So I have this plan that we would have 50 people, partners, who are certified the way that I do it online. And then those 50 take a role. We have these 50 roles and they're specific to what goes on inside the arcology. For instance, there's a learning center for the children. So then that learning center is going to be have roles in it to make that fly, to make it happen. There's a health center, obviously. And so now we have to have people who will have the roles of running that health center. It doesn't mean they're a doctor or a nurse, but they get the doctors or the nurse or hire the people. There's a HR, it's like a business, but we live there. And I have 7 centers. That's why I call it ARC7, is that there are 7 specific centers. And let's see if I can name them off the top of my head. So there's a survival center, which is just food production and all of the utilities and the technical part of living and as a human being, what we need to survive. Then there is the health center. The way that I do it and the way that I remember it is it's body, mind, and spirit. So the health center, the school or the learning center, the body, mind, spirit, the church or the mosque or the just the meeting house where you have your spiritual meetings. And then family, community, humanity. So family is where they live and sleep and actually, interact and maybe have some living spaces, shared kitchens, whatever, 50 people and their families now. So 50 people, leaders certified, but their families come with them. So then maybe that's 350 or more, maybe 500 tops. Then, so that's this sleeping area, living area, co-living space. And then family, community, humanity. So family, community, the community is the actual incubator, the business incubator where people make money. And we started with the first business already built in, which is a place, a hospitality business where people could come and stay, rent the space as either monthly or weekly or actually nightly if it's like a hotel or whatever. And there's things that would be offered there, like amenities, spa, whatever. And then finally, humanity is the center that is focused on the global connection with other arcologies and with replicating to the next one. We just believe that each one would then contribute to build the next. So that would be part of what they're buying into, is that it replicates and some of the profit goes towards the next one. Um, so anyway, those are the 7 centers. And so those would have to be designed in each one. And so I'm not a designer, I'm not an architect. I can kind of envision it about 1,000 ways. And so I started to think there could be 2 ways we could approach it, and you could tell me which is best. We could say that it would be designed by the people in that community, and maybe it would look like what they're used to, their country, their culture, their the way that they live already without too much change. Maybe some upgrades because there would be clean water and organic foods. But then it could also be something that is designed somewhat already there, like it has the 7 centers, and this is what we include in the school, and this is what we include in the health center. It could also be already designed. Somewhat like a franchise where somebody who gets involved isn't just having to start from scratch, every time, but that they would have some basic things that are already prepared for them to do. And then it's not going to be so hard to do every single time. So how do you weigh in on that one? I'll let you, or Zoo. Did I say it
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah, you said perfectly. Um, I think also as it comes to spirituality and talking about community and people, for me it's always better that yeah, if you want to bring a vision to a community, it's always better that the community itself takes it. And like if we want to envision, creating more cohesive communities and, on a global scale, create uh, those feelings, it's really important that the communities themselves, they are the protagonist of any change that are going to happen, in their space. So as it comes, to the visuals, I mean, it's good to have a vision. It's great to have a vision and ideas and, the values that you want to bring there. But for me, it would be best that those values are taken by the community and then they decide what they want to do with that and how they want to, uh, bring it into life. And as it goes, to a larger scale, I always think about it's very beautiful to create these smaller communities, but it's always also great to have it in a way, that is integrated to the bigger system in the way, um, not to create, a small physical space that is separated from the rest of the city or, the village that people are in, but it is within it. And it can have those structures in it, but always, yeah, not like the idea is always to integrate, rather than divide from what already exists.
I agree.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
I would say that the co-education can happen with the people, and then the first step for me would be to create that feeling of community with people, and then they decide how they would want to move it forward, because that's something that also, much of the development in the world didn't allow for. Like, there was one model of development, and that was seen as the only way to move forward, to have growth in the world, and every country replicated it, and it didn't go well. So it's really important that people themselves, they decide how they want to take forward their development, and it's, something that comes from within the community.
Yes, I agree. And I'm really excited to have your input like this because it's the kind of thing where if I talk to the average person about it, they might not even get it or even like what? Why are you doing that? But I actually want to live in Arc 7 arcology. That's what I dream of. And so that's what drives me. And I'm worried that it's not going to happen in my lifetime, because it takes so long to even form a team. But forming the team has been the really the highlight of my life. I've been working with these people. What happened, they just started taking the course and then they got so excited they got other people to take the course, and they were university students, so they were surrounded by other people. And so then they're just getting everybody. So then somebody asked, well, my brother goes to a different university. Can he do it? And then now I'm trending on 7 campuses in Rwanda. I did not intend it to happen that way at all. And, the universe kind of has its own way of doing things. And so with all these people kind of just uh, kind of spurring me along, kind of giving me that, keeping me focused on it is what they do, because they contact me every day with questions and what are we going to do and what's next, and so as a group we talk about money making ideas. How can we gather the funds to do this? And so now we're talking about, okay, they have phones. This is they don't have computers, but they do have phones. So we've been trying to find ways to generate income on the phone. So that's my next thing, is like I'm going to talk to somebody out there who would perhaps do a Zoom call with me that is good at making money online for people who are in Rwanda. Um, so this is it's just my life's work, as you can see. And so I would like to invite you, if you're willing and have the time, to go through this step-by-step process that I offer and see if it's the kind of thing that would excite you. And then you start saying, oh, you gotta listen to this. Of course I did it for free. I did it for them for free. It's just what I do. I'm very excited about it. So that would give me like some input, I think, on a from people from your field, to have some input into where at that stage where we could still change things and still add things. So I was wondering if you'd like to be involved in that.
You want to go first?
You go first.
I mean, would definitely go through the steps, and we can keep in touch to see what can come next.
Really? Okay. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for considering that. What I will have set up is an audiobook first, so that people don't have to read, they don't have to take time out of their schedule. Maybe they could do it while they're making dinner or something. But the audiobook, I think, is and each step, I hope that you will have your input. I have a comment box. I have it set up where there's a comment box at the end of each chapter so that people can say what they suggest or what they like about it or what they would add. And I think it should always be that way, so that like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, people can continue to change it and add things, and if something new becomes relevant, then they can add to it. So then what I'll do is I will send you the link to that audiobook, and we'll just go from there. We'll listen, see your comments, and see if you'd like to go to the next step. And the next step is offered at the end of each step, so that you could go to the next step if you're interested in going. So I am very sensitive to people's busy schedules and times, and I feel like I don't want to take up too much time. But at the same time, if someone's starting from scratch in these ideas, it seems like they have to kind of be in it a number of hours as a training course. It's not something you could just read a book and go do it. You have to have the steps, and some of the steps are like, get a board of directors. So now that's not going to be like, oh, I'll just go do that. It's going to take time to find those people, see if they'll go through the training, if they'll, take on those roles. So it really is I have seen people get involved in Rwanda. They're very excited. And then when you start asking them to do steps, maybe they do them, some do, some don't. And you almost can't predict. I haven't been able to predict who will follow through. And sometimes life gets tough with someone, or they're in the middle of an exam, they can't come through, so someone else will come through. It's just that way. It's the way life is. So who will end up being the 50 that we end up with? I don't know. But we'll see step by step as we go. But I would also like to have 50 global people who take on those same roles, like the health center, the learning center, and take on those same roles, and then be able to encourage the global development of each one of those centers as they're starting their project, that they'd have someone to call. So I'm going to also be looking for that. So you can think about having a role in the global organization too. So how does that sound?
Just something I would suggest, and coming from, let's say, a building background and architecture background, it's always like having visions. It's the most amazing thing and the most beautiful thing. But at the same time, it would be sometimes easier to test an idea and kind of prototype it in a smaller scale in one place, and then see how that works, and based on that to replicate and also think about bigger scales, because it can become otherwise very time consuming. Is, if from the first time that you want to like do a project or think about an idea, to do it in the scale that you want to do it, because you might spend 5, 6, 7, 10 years to make that first idea happen, and then when it happens, you just will be able to see what works and what doesn't work. But
Mhm.
it's always easier, that you do it in a much, much, much smaller scale. Maybe just starting with community building and see how that goes and how the community themselves can, come up with what they need in their living environment and so on and so forth, and take it from there. And it can, like, it's much easier to like learn and find what works and what doesn't work in much shorter amount of time, and then based on that to build on that, and then go bigger scale and bigger scale and bigger scale. And it's something that we use like in architecture, in placemaking, in urban design, and
Yeah.
it's a useful thing to also move forward faster with your ideas. And you can check, like, testing and prototyping. So maybe, the first time that you start something, it can be with 3 people, and you see what you can do, with those 3 people, and then scale it up
Do
and
you
scale it up
mean
and scale it
the
up.
first time we build?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, the first time. It doesn't have to be the full,
Because
idea.
we
It
have
can be,
already, as far as the team building, we've already built 7 teams, and you start with a large number and they drop out. And that's really, it's important to recognize that that's going to be the process, and not to take offense, people's lives are always changing. And, but, so, okay, so I think we have to wrap it up because I'm getting signals here from Zoom that
Oh,
I
okay.
have
I'm
to,
sure.
Just
uh,
yeah,
uh,
just wanted to tell you that I'm going on maternity leave. So I'll see how
oh,
much I
how
can.
wonderful.
Yeah, so I'll see how much I'll be able there to listen. But put just here in the chat. So the podcast episode I was telling you about on spirituality. And then actually 2 articles on placemaking, and one is saying what Arizu was mentioning. So the fact that basically building and vision is not the first thing that comes, but you have some like step to go through. And I mean, if anything else comes to my mind, I'll send it to you in terms of process and process design.
Okay, I just opened up those links. I will
Yes.
check them out right now. So it was
Okay.
so wonderful to talk to you and meet you. I hope we can do this again. After you, I don't know when, like if it's good to do another one right after this first step, or go through a few steps before you come back, but you can let me know. But I would really like to have your feedback along the way and see, you know, see what happens next.
Great,
Sounds good?
great, great.
Sounds
Oh,
good.
okay. Thank you,
Thank you
Arazu and
very
Khadija. It was
much.
so great to
Thank
talk
Thank
to
you, Mary.
you. Good luck with everything.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.